Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for watching. Tonight, as interest rates go up yet again, we look at the local real estate market. Plus, after lots of criticism about lack of diversity on Windsor's police board, former city councillor John Elliott has been appointed. You might call them a goosance. Geese have been linked to recent crashes in our region. We take a look at their impact. And our air quality is unhealthy this week as smoke from wildfires travels this way. We begin tonight with a look at housing. Windsor's been on a wild ride over the last few years, but new numbers show the market is bouncing back from a recent dip, just as the Bank of Canada once again increases interest rates. It's the first time in 5 months that rates have been hiked. The key interest rate now sitting at 4.75%. That is up by 25 basis points. We'll dive into how that happened in a moment, but first, let's look at the local market. The real estate market in Windsor, Essex has been an up and down roller coaster for the last few years. Prices skyrocketed and then proceeded to drop last year. At its peak, the average price of a home got up to nearly $724,000 in March 2022, and then hit bottom at about $473,000 in December, as fears of growing interest rates slowed things way down. And despite recent projections that things would keep slowing down this year, the latest numbers are painting a very different kind of picture. Take a look. In January, the average price of a home was $516,000, a big drop compared to the year before. But look at what's happened since. Numbers have been going up and up and up, reaching just over $600,000 last month.
Surprise, surprise, surprise. So what I'm going to tell everybody who thinks our real estate market is going to crash, please stop. It's climbing up slowly, not at a pace that we have been watching last year, but it's been climbing up gradually, slowly, and steadily.
And it's not just prices. Number of sales are up from 244 sales in January to 546 last month. That's about on par with some of the numbers we were seeing last spring. Chen says the higher interest rates are not deterring folks from buying right now because the demand is here, all despite a report from the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation that predicted that both sales and prices were going to go down this year. And when that report came out back in spring, Chen told me she didn't buy it.
I still have the same opinion. I do not think that housing price is going to come down this year. I think it will be stabilized and slowly climb up a bit, maybe have a bit of fluctuation from this month to that month, but the trend is going up slowly.
So what does this mean for buyers and sellers?
Calculate your affordability number and then buy within your financial capability. To sellers, if you are moving up, it is a great opportunity now, because what is the most active market right now is hovering around or under the average sale price, which is around 600,000, right?
Chen says this is a healthy pace for the market. And even though prices are going to go up, she doesn't think that they're going to reach the same monster levels this year. Chen says today's hike will have a short-term impact on the market. Anisha Patel has more now on what the latest Bank of Canada decision means for you.
For anyone with a variable rate mortgage, borrowing is about to get more expensive. The Bank of Canada hiked its key interest rate for the first time since January. It's now at 4.75%, the highest level since 2001. The central bank had paused in January to see if 8 aggressive rate hikes would be enough to get inflation under control. But Canada's economy hasn't slowed enough. The housing market has picked up and the labor market remains tight. And with the latest inflation rate ticking higher, the Bank of Canada moved to raise rates, saying concerns have increased that CPI inflation could get stuck above the 2% target.
A lot of consumers will be facing those dual dynamics right now of high inflation, high interest rates, and other types of challenges as we kind of see potentially a slowing economy at the same time.
The Bank of Canada uses higher interest rates as a tool to slow spending and cool the economy. but some analysts aren't convinced they're the correct fix.
Geopolitical reconfiguring because of supply lines, climate change events, extreme climate change events, all of these things are cranking up prices. And raising rates isn't necessarily the right medicine. However, it's the only medicine we have relied on since the 1980s.
The Bank of Canada says it will monitor inflation to determine whether even higher interest rates are necessary. Many market watchers are betting the central bank isn't finished, predicting another rate hike in July. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
Windsor police are not answering questions following an investigation that took place in the South Cameron neighborhood. Police blocked off Northway Avenue between Malden Road and Manitoba Street yesterday evening. There were multiple officers on scene. The forensic identification unit was there and a coroner arrived around 7 p.m. They paid attention to the forested area, though they didn't go deep into the woods. Police say they can't yet share if the investigation is complete or what it was related to. The final seat on the Windsor Police Services Board has been appointed. This is the group that provides oversight for the police service. Former City Councillor John Elliott will take it on. The provincial appointment comes after council was criticized over a lack of diversity on the board. The CBC's TJ Deere has more.
This was the moment it happened. John Elliott's appointment completes the city's police board, although it came as a surprise to him as it's a position he didn't apply for.
When I got the call from the Solicitor General's office, I wasn't expecting a call. I was kind of interested, but once I connected with him and heard what it was in regards to, I thought, yeah, it's something I'd be interested in.
Elliott, a former city councillor, is one of two provincial appointees. The other is former Ontario PC candidate Robert DeVertai. City Council selects two members. That's Ward 6 Councillor Joanne Gignac and Mayor Drew Dilkins, who chairs the board. The final spot is selected by council from a group of applicants. That's WFCU Senior VP Sophia Chisholm. Chisholm's selection earlier this year came under fire from community members who wanted more diversity on the board. In an emailed statement at the time responding to the lack of diversity, Dilkins highlighted that there are two women on the board. Chisholm never responded to interview requests from CBC News. When asked about the board's previous lack of diversity, Elliott says he's focused on other things.
Developing that long-term relationship with the police is basically what I'm interested in, at the police service level. And, it's a hot button item, the whole diversity and stuff. But, at the end of the day, I'm Canadian, man. I'm born here. I know. I know what's going on with everything.
CBC News spoke with previous black applicants to the board shortly after Chisholm's appointment. One of them was a University of Windsor professor who pushed for racial diversity on the board. She was pleased with Elliott's appointment, but disappointed that the province had to step in when the city didn't.
I think that it's a tragedy the municipal government prioritizes political affiliation.
One expert says while Elliott's appointment is a step in the right direction, it may not be enough.
Because he is one voice amongst many, there's no way that we can expect him to represent the entire Black community and all of the very diverse positions therein.
In response to what the biggest challenge is to the city police-wise, Elliott said homelessness is a massive issue, although he said he didn't want to speak for police officers who see the problem firsthand. TJ Deere, CBC News, Windsor.
A man was hit by a driver at an off-ramp of the EC Row Expressway yesterday. Police say the 62-year-old was sent to hospital with life-threatening injuries. Officers were called to the Howard eastbound exit yesterday afternoon, and they're asking for anyone who may have witnessed the incident to give them a call. Police believe the man may have been walking on the expressway. And we have new video tonight of the collision last week on EC Row Expressway. This is the one police say was caused by someone stopping for geese. And so we're going to stop the video right there, pause it. You can make out the geese on the expressway. Police charged a driver for stopping to let the geese cross. No one was seriously injured, but it has sparked a conversation about the amount of geese in Windsor and why there are so many. CBC's TJ Deere takes a look.
Out in Essex County, malnourished Canada geese have an opportunity to get healthy.
We have a very popular goose relocation initiative that we work with our colleagues from the Canadian Wildlife Service, and we bring in anywhere from 1,000 to 1,200 geese every year, largely from communities within the GTA.
Koch says the initiative helps the sanctuary track the migratory patterns of geese, and GTA municipalities get to temporarily remove the geese there. After the geese are banded, they end up either back in the GTA or are released to continue their journey south. Koch says because it's nesting season for the geese,
you will see geese in normal places that you may not see them. I get calls all the time of people just finding nests in the weirdest and randomest places.
2 car crashes in Windsor, Essex last week happened because geese were in the roadway. This crash occurred in Windsor, which ended with one driver facing a charge of careless driving. Meanwhile, reaction to the presence of geese in Windsor is mixed.
The geese are beautiful birds. They add to the aesthetics of the environment. And there's some poop on the ground, you go around it. You take a minute more. They're nice birds crossing the road.
They're annoying, terrible. Anywhere you go and you want to walk somewhere, there's poop everywhere. And I know the city was trying to clean it up, but it doesn't seem to be happening anymore. You can sit on the road and you have to wait sometimes with 20 babies. You have to wait for them all to cross the street before you can actually get going. But it happens quite a bit on Riverside Drive.
Koch says geese are misunderstood creatures and is pleading with drivers to drive more carefully when geese are crossing the road. He also has a message for people who think geese are a nuisance.
I would encourage those folks to come down, make the short drive to Kingsville, come to the Jack Miner Migratory Bird Foundation and really learn and gain a better appreciation for geese.
The city of Windsor says it deals with geese by cleaning geese feces in highly populated areas at least 3 times a week, but can do more on a case-by-case basis.
That's basically, something we're able to do with running those machines. And they run 7 days a week. We're a 7-day operation within our parks operations team. So it's not just limited to Monday to Friday. It's just to allow the proper coverage that we're getting all the areas to get to each one of the identified trails.
TJ Deere, CBC News, Kingsville.
Let's take a look outside now. That smoke from those wildfires really having an impact. This is Windsor last night. And at one point today, Windsor West had some of the worst air quality in the world. That's according to a site that tracks public data and works with Greenpeace. It looks a little bit better outside now, but the evening is when conditions actually get worse. The public health unit is telling people to limit their time outside, especially if they have health conditions. And we asked a few people how they're dealing with the heavy air.
I noticed the smoke. I didn't realize at the time. I thought it was probably from like the Upper Peninsula of Michigan or something like that. But and then I went home and checked and it was from Quebec. I was surprised it's so far away. Well, I was kind of used to it already. I used to live in BC, and then I actually just moved here 3 days ago from Nova Scotia, and we had a wildfire there just before I left.
Do you act any different when there's a fire?
Not really. Sometimes if it's bad, I close the windows when I'm at home. But yeah, outside usually it doesn't affect me too much.
I noticed that over the States there, you couldn't see, like, what is that, Belle Isle Bridge?
Yeah.
From here you couldn't see that there last night about 8 o'clock, 8:30.
For the time being, if you feel all right, you'll still go out in it?
Oh yeah. But only in the early mornings when it's not so warm.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm good to go.
While the smoke can be a health issue for us here in Windsor, out-of-control wildfires are forcing people across the country to make life-altering decisions. Thousands of people have been forced to leave their homes, and more than 3 million hectares of land have been destroyed. Officials say this country could be in for the worst wildfire season on record. In Quebec alone, the number of evacuees is expected to hit 15,000 by the end of today. Jennifer Yoon has the latest.
They had to leave their homes abruptly. Now, many aren't sure when exactly they can return. Evacuees from Chibougamau and Oujé-Bougoumou are settling into cots and temporary lodgings in and around Riverval, and they're not the only ones. Stephanie Breton, who left her home in Lebel-sur-Quévillon, says she's never seen anything like this.
Right on the other side of the lake, you could see the fire. So it is, honestly, it's wild. I never, even though I've been living in Quévillon for 12 years almost, I don't think I ever thought that this would happen.
Quebec Premier François Legault says the dry weather and strong winds have made the situation especially dangerous. And there's no rain in sight for some areas, at least for a few days. Legault says 11 water bombers are operating in the province, but he says he needs backup. And he's appealing to other provinces as well as other countries for help, including the US, Mexico, and Portugal.
Right now, with the manpower we have, we can fight about 40 fires at the same time, but we have 150 fires.
Legault says reinforcements are on the way from New Brunswick and France. Across Canada, hundreds of fires are burning, many out of control, says Canada's Minister for Public Safety.
Today, there are 2,293 wildfires that have occurred in Canada. Approximately 3.8 million hectares have been burned. And across the country, as of today, there are 414 wildfires burning, 239 of which are determined to be out of control.
In the face of thousands displaced, Ottawa says it's looking into options for a national disaster response agency. All this as the fires continue to leave a smoky haze over North America. Jennifer Yoon, CBC News, Montreal.
There are also dozens of forest fires burning across Ontario. The number of active fires is already above the 10-year average. As Lorenda Redicop reports, the situation has the Doug Ford government facing some heat at Queen's Park.
The number of fires burning in Ontario is up today. There have been 167 fires this year, already more than double the total for all of last year.
The report that I have heard, approximately 50% of the fires are started by lightning strikes. The other 50% are people starting campfires, not putting out the campfires properly. So I'm asking every Ontarian, please do not light any campfires.
However, right now there is no province-wide ban on starting fires. That checkerboard area shows where fires are restricted. This larger colored area shows the fire danger zones, with red the worst, indicating extreme.
When there is a forest fire an hour and a half outside of Ottawa, the government is still refusing to do a fire ban in the provincial park on the edge of the city of Ottawa. That's bonkers. The government doesn't have the situation under control.
Municipalities have the opportunity to assess the situation where they're at. It's an enormous province with different conditions in some different areas of the province.
On day 2 of an air quality statement from Environment Canada, the opposition leader once again asked the government to make the link to climate change.
It's science, right? This is no ordinary fire season. People are worried that this is our new normal, and they are scared.
I'm actually in shock that the leader of opposition is politicizing wildfires. It's staggering, really.
He says the province will spare no expense on fighting the fires. Later, the minister responsible did accept the connection to climate change after not doing so yesterday.
We very much acknowledge that that is real, but firefighting is very much about the here and now.
One scientist explains the connection, however the fires may have started.
As we warm the planet up, one of the things we're going to see is drying conditions and also higher temperatures, and both of those things contribute to wildfires.
He says that means extreme wildfire seasons like this one could happen more frequently. Lorenda Redicop, CBC News, Toronto.
Let's take a live look outside. There you can see some of that haze again tonight, and we do have that special weather statement in effect for poor air quality. As for what's in the forecast, well, believe it or not, for tonight and for tomorrow, it is smoke in the forecast. Colette Kennedy will join us after the break, and she'll talk us through it. Colette Kennedy is with us now for a look at weather. And Colette, we've been talking a lot about the impact of wildfires, and I was so surprised today to look at the Environment Canada website, and we had smoke in the forecast for Windsor.
Yeah, and you look at those icons, you know, you check your apps, and all it is a smoke plume.
Yeah.
You know, other parts of the country are used to seeing that and being closer to the fires generally in that smoke. And Southern Ontario, we're really getting a taste, almost literally a taste of it. So we do know we need to be very cautious here. I think what it's really important takeaway is just how climate change, because when we're seeing patterns like this, we're early in the season, dry, hot, more fires sooner, that we tie this into climate change, but how we're all tied together. So what may be happening in another part of our country has an impact on all of us, and not just in the country, it crosses all those international borders as well. So let's get down to it with what we are looking at. The air quality statement for all of Southern Ontario. I do anticipate this will stay here for a couple of days, and then we should get some improvement towards the weekend. But keeping in mind, within that period, there will be ebbs and flows to this as that smoke moves around and the winds change direction. So the fire situation across the country, where we're getting that smoke from right now, Western Quebec and parts of northeastern Ontario, and that's generally because we're getting that flow of our winds coming from the north, whether it's a little northeast, a little northwest, or due north, there's smoke in either direction, any of those directions, to pull it in, and not just up at in the upper atmosphere where we get the hazy skies. This is at the surface where it can become a respiratory issue. You can see that smoke here in the atmosphere and how dense it is into eastern Ontario, into New York State, down into New York City. They're complaining, or at least they're referencing, the forest fires in Canada affecting what they're seeing in the skies there. And just when you get into more of these purples here, this is our forecast, okay, moving forward. That's when it becomes a little more intense. It's a little denser here, and we're seeing that vacillating and rotating towards southwestern Ontario. With our last report of the air quality, we had come down to 4, all right, and that's still moderate, but I anticipate forecast is that into tonight, tomorrow, we may see that going back up to 7, putting us back in high. So the more that you can be indoors, especially if you have good, circulation of the air, the better off you're going to be, and if you're vulnerable. So the forecast brings some cloud cover our way, isolated showers, but at least that provides a bit of relief, especially if we can get those dew points up, a little bit more moisture, because our fire danger is so high too. We're seeing the risk even in southern Ontario is there. What we're really going to see, though, is just needing to watch those numbers in terms of what is going on with that air quality. So watching for tomorrow's forecast, it going back up into the high region. And then as we get towards the weekend, I anticipate a wind change to really provide a little bit more relief to all of us, including our friends who might be pregnant, etc.
Thanks so much for that, Colette. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
When we come back, we're going to celebrate a couple's 75-year-long love. Stay with us. Someone in Windsor is a multi-millionaire. A Lotto Max winning ticket was sold somewhere in the city, and it is worth $35 million. So let's put the Lotto numbers up on the screen here. We got a 4, 7, 13, 16, 31, 32, 39, and the bonus number 26. The winner is splitting the jackpot with someone in British Columbia. So for someone here, congratulations on the big win, and give us a call. We want to know who you are. And we want to highlight another couple of winners before we leave you tonight. Let's introduce you to Marg and Stan Scratch. They're celebrating 75 years together this week. Marg and Stan met in high school and soon started dating back in 1945. Here they are as a couple of young lovebirds. They got married in 1948, and that wedding menu, turkey with stuffing and potatoes. The weather was excellent and the cost was real cheap, 75 cents a plate. Let's jump forward 75 years. Here they are now. They don't know any secrets to keeping that spark alive. Marg says they're just compatible and very active. She says they're a pair of good friends who like going on walks together. They've got 4 kids, 9 grandkids, and 10 great-grandchildren. A life full of love. And that is it for CBC Windsor News. For more, you can always go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor, and you can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for watching and have a good night.